Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the anniversary, 2 years anniversary, 104th Wasteless World Talk with Bill and Kevin. For 2 years, we are meeting every single week to discuss one term. And the term today, body. So I will start to you, Kevin, this time. Please, if you close your eyes and I say the term body, what came first to your mind?
Well, it's white, overweight, and hairy.
Say that again.
It's white, overweight, and hairy. I don't know why, but that's the first image that comes to mind. But the proper answer is a group of people.
Uh-huh. That's interesting. Both answers are interesting. What about you, Bill? If you close your eyes and you hear the term body, what came first to your mind?
Well, in my mind, I have several people in my mind. I have a 17-year-old person in my mind. I've got an old person in my mind. And so when I tap into the 17-year-old and you say body, I think of a woman's body. Because when I was 17, if you said body, that's all I would think about. Um, Even if you didn't say it, that's probably all I was thinking about. Um, when you're older, then I think of things like a body of water, a body of knowledge, uh, some some big collection of. That's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Uh, Especially the last two, because we are three men, so the image of female body came to our mind for sure during our life. But in Czech language, we don't use the term body for water, for example. We don't use that.
Oh,
We use it really only for body as it is. It can be animal body, it can be human body, but we don't use it even for plants. We don't use this. So it's really only this. Maybe a machine can be body of a machine, but we don't use the others.
so Kevin, you've lived in the U.S. and you've lived in Europe. Do you see that distinction?
I think that in Europe we can also say a body of water, but it's more an American thing, I would say.
Okay,
And also with if you think of Congress, then you think of Congress as a body.
a body. Yeah.
Yeah, rather than you wouldn't describe the UK Parliament as a body, for example. So I think it is an American. It's more common in America to use that definition of body.
On the other hand, if I touch the last one, so the body of government, which I feel it's one of the standards which I speak about the governments, for example, uh, do you see uh, any common thing between the body as it is, so human, and the government? Because we cannot see inside. We develop machines to see inside the bodies, X-rays or whatever, many of those. But the governments are built in some way to be not transparent at all. Our body is not transparent. The machine make it in some way transparent, but not the body of government. Should there be any connection?
Well, should you use the word should? Um,
No. So,
but
or
but
if
I think that we are becoming, as people, more transparent. It used to be very difficult to move information from me to you. I'd have to sit down and write a letter and get a stamp and put it on it, put it in the mailbox, and wait for 2 weeks for it to get over there. Now, I can text you, or I can, there's 100 different ways, and so people leave information trails, which other people can hack, can find, can collect. So it's very tough for a giant to to not to have information that they don't want to get out, it gets out. So we're becoming increasingly transparent because of technology, I think. And I think that's a good thing. It would be wonderful if I had no secrets from you. And it would be, right? Like Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, I would like to know their secrets, right? Or maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. But the more that we know about our neighbor, I think it's a good thing. Is it a good thing? I think so.
For me, it is. I have in Industry 5.0 three principles. Transparency is number one. Profit sharing, efficiency. But transparency remains number one. But both of you know very well, before you enter any company, any corporation, first what you sign is NDA. Secrets. Everything is secret. So even my picture on their whiteboard, I have to sign 3-page NDA. And it was my picture on their board. So it was crazy. It was crazy. But I do understand. Transparency should be there. Yes, for sure.
I don't think politics can exist in transparency.
No, that's
really doesn't.
yeah, good point.
But why?
Because if I go over and have a conversation with Putin, right? Do I keep that to myself, or do I share that with other people in the government body? Or right? I I think transparency is so important in everything.
You name Putin. Just 2 days ago started. It's not a conference. It's something like an event. 300 young journalists from 86 countries meet in one city in Russia, city outside of the war. I don't remember right now. It's organized by TASS. Kevin, you know probably TASS. This is the press agency of of Russia, generally of Soviet Union is the original name. And the name of the conference is Noise, the journalism in the times of Industry 5.0. It is the official name of the conference. You know, and in the 80s, there was something like an adventure, not movie, series of movies in the TV. And it was called TASS is allowed to say. And I wrote yesterday to the TASS email offering them that if they would like to know about Industry 5.0, I will deliver a keynote remotely. For whatever reason, they did not reply. I don't know. It's chaired by the Minister of Foreign Trade of Russia. It's unbelievable. But can you imagine? 300 young people, 18 to 35, from 86 countries are going to Russia, receive a brainwash, information how to make the noise in media. It's called noise. And they will come back. And they will say, okay, it's Industry 5.0. Terrible. And this is exactly when the transparency will be there. Nothing like that will happen. Just 24 hours later, Forbes published 13th article called Industry 5.0. 12 authors. One is dead already. 12 authors. 13 articles. All misleading. By a Forbes, which is understood by many as a Bible of the business. For me, it's a church journal because I wrote about it. I didn't know the term, but it's generally a church journal where the poor can read about the rich ones. But it's crazy. And this time was written in the US. And it's even crazier part, you know, the people who write it work for some companies, SAP, for example, and others. And if you look at the company page, and you try to search for the term Industry 5.0, you get zero reply. There is nothing about, but they are experts. So transparency for me, yes, should be the first step.
I would imagine being the Russian Minister of Foreign Trade is an extremely boring job. I mean, his phone's not going to ring from one year to the next, is it?
It's a lady. It's a lady.
Guys, I have an interesting thought, and that is that we separate body from soul and body from mind. Why is that?
And there is one more thing, if you mention, because we have the noon discussion, we discovered that we have the technology to see the physical parts of the body, but we don't have one to see the mind and the soul. And generally, nobody, let's say nobody in the research and science world is trying to see it, because they say it's generally nonsense or whatever, it does not exist and so on. But everybody knows that we talk about it, the mind, the feelings in the, not only in the brain, in the other parts of the body and so on. But it is quite interesting. Why do we separate it? That's the right question.
Well, is it a religious thing? Is it a religious thing? Because the church has always taught that there's a body and that has a soul. Some people nowadays are saying, well, it's a soul that for a few years has a body, but that's semantics. But was it started by the church, or see, I suspect that we've always felt that there was something more than the physical body. Maybe that's just because I was told by the church for too long. But if you went back to the American Indians or indigenous people from whatever continent, they believe that there's more to a person than this body. And I think, do either of you have any experience in that?
So the one thing I was thinking was that, in a way, if you think of the different hierarchies, the body is the lowest hierarchy of the three. It's almost like it is just a transportation system for the soul and the mind.
You know, from my perspective, I was growing up in a country where religion was almost forbidden. So we have not learned about it. We know it's bad. Even my mom, who was born in 1949, at that time, shortly after came the communists, you know, so she does not have that at the time to go to church. And that was quite strict in my country at the time. After the war was quite strong. So I am from a second generation who does not have any religion education. I studied myself some books, different religions, because it was interesting for me, but reading about it. Never, time to time, I go to church, but not to listen, just to watch and get the energy and so on. So I am not influenced by the talks about it. And still, I know there is something. I don't call it God, simple. I don't call it so. It's energy, it's whatever. But there is something. And all of us know and have this feeling. And I think everybody has this once when you meet someone which you fall in love. What it is? Two bodies get magnets? No. There is something which connects these two souls. And again, you say souls or hearts. And we are there. So maybe it is separated because it is dangerous for the giants or for someone, for us to understand that this is one, not separated. So they need to enclose it in a silo, separate it in a different departments, so that this kind of people, as you said, these with torch will fight the others with whatever.
Pitchfork, right.
Yes. Maybe this was the reason.
It goes
It,
way, way, way back. The ancient Egyptians, they spent a lot of their time studying death, what happens after we die, that the soul goes on, it will have to move across the Milky Way and will be confronted by obstacles and things like that. And part of their belief was that when you meet Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the scales, he will ask you, did you waste the gift of the body that you were given? Which is really, really interesting, because then it suggests, of course, that the soul is eternal, but the body is not. And to be given the body is to be given a great gift, according to the ancient Egyptians. And you must use it wisely. You must use it properly. You mustn't waste it.
that's interesting. I had not heard that. Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me that it was not me, but Anubis, who is the founder of Industry 5.0.
Or maybe he is reincarnated in your body.
That's possible. No, it's.
So I think right from the very beginning, the body is temporary. The rest of us as a being is eternal, but the body is not.
Or maybe we've just been taught that that there is a soul and that it is eternal. Because if the giants get us to believe that, then we are believing in delayed gratification. And so we will work harder now, right, for the reward after we die, right? And that helps the factory owners, right? Because they tell us to work harder. Um, so yeah, and we've said this many times ourselves, is that the schools teach our children what they need to know to work in the factories efficiently, right? They don't necessarily teach them to think, they teach them how to do calculus and higher mathematics and so on, because it helps the factories. But what do we really need to know? What needs to be taught to the children to be fulfilled human beings in this body that we inhabit for a few years?
It is interesting that in the very old times, which has been mentioned by Kevin, and some religions have it still, or in some nations, they speak openly about death. And they investigated what will be after and so on. But I will say we do not speak about it anymore. We speak about life, but that's not true. We fear death, but we don't speak about life.
Yes, very important what you just said.
That was interesting today because one of the speakers on the noon event, she lost her friend. Generally yesterday she was on a funeral. And we spoke that there is no coincidence. But it was so interesting to see really the images from all around the globe speaking about the body. And what was interesting, we need 37 minutes to come from the first question, which is the same like with you, from physical body to space, to universe. And the interesting part was that the universe part was introduced, or the thoughts about it, about the body of universe, was introduced by the youngest participant, student. That was very interesting. And all of us are there, or most of us are there over 40, some over 70. But this thought in the 35th minutes or so was introduced by a student. Very interesting. So I think a lot of it's changing really, and the transparency as you describe it, Bill, thanks to digital media and so on. As I said, Forbes published it, and I know it 20 minutes after because I was doing the check. So fast it goes. I think that the author was surprised that she get a message from me. So, but we need to learn how to use it because it came so fast that we somehow, how will you describe yourself if your family is the body? Okay. Which part of the body are you? And does it change during the life?
It does change my understanding of my purpose, of life and death, of of how I fit in with my family or with the community has has morphed and evolved and is very different now. So yeah, yes, in answer to your question, I think it does change.
And what
Kevin,
part
would
of the
you agree
body
with
are
that?
you?
I haven't the foggiest idea. What part of the body am I?
At the moment, let's say at the moment, because
So
it
I'm
changed.
I'm not a yeah, I'm not a doer, so
So
I'm
you are
not the
not the
hands.
hands. Okay.
I'm not the explorer, so I'm probably not the feet. Um, I'm the enjoyer. I enjoy. I enjoy. We were talking about my bicycle. We were talking about walking by the beach. I think I'm the enjoyer part of the body. Which part is that?
Stomach? Not sure.
Okay,
Not sure.
okay. Then I'm the stomach.
And you, Kevin?
Well, yeah, nothing physical. If if anything, it's just some kind of thought process. Kids behaving. But there was one thing I was thinking from what Bill was saying, and that is that when I first started working, I was fairly quick, and so I was always the youngest in the group. And then one day I was the oldest in the group, and I never noticed the change at all.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah, and it's so strange. And you think that this body we're in, it tells us signals every day that we're getting older. That it's you know we're living in a clock. We're living in a on these sundials. It is a reminder to us constantly that we're aging, we're getting older.
You
That's
know,
not, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a very good thing. I think it really is. It's a reminder to don't waste time. You know, we should never waste time. But as you get older, there is less time to waste, or in fact, there is more opportunity to do things.
in Czech, when we speak about the family, we say that the man is the head, but the woman
Same
is
here.
the neck. This is the woman because without a neck, you cannot move the head. This is a Czech saying generally, so standard one.
I like that. I've never heard that. We also say that the man is the head of the family. Well, we don't say it too much anymore, but we that's the way I was brought up. The man is the head of the family. But I never heard that the woman is the neck. Okay.
But speaking, coming back to the very interesting expression, water body. Is there anything similar? So, forest body or so? Is it used commonly in the US?
Body
A
of knowledge.
body of water, a
Yeah.
body of
Hmm?
Kevin,
Knowledge.
a body of knowledge, of course,
Hmm.
a body of people like
Opinion.
Congress, and what?
Why? Why it is
Opinion.
this connection?
Did you say opinion? Opinion?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, but as you get older, we're going to leave behind, hopefully, a body of work.
Oh,
Hmm.
well, it could be in your children.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
and somebody said something very sad that in 3 or 4 generations, nobody will know you. All memory of Michael Rada will be gone in 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 generations. Ah, that's okay. I'm fine with that.
I think it's a sign of a well-lived life. I mean, if your name is Adolf Hitler, you're still going to be known for 1,000 years.
Yeah, 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 right.
there was quite interesting a discussion. There was mentioned, this is interesting, in the noon discussion was Adolf Hitler mentioned as well. As the example of the body. And he was mentioned in the relation that he tries to be the body as a complex body, not sharing, not giving this and this responsibility and so on. This is why he failed. Then there was said that Nelson Mandela in South Africa, he shared immediately. So he was part of the body, but never tried to be the whole body. And the third example which came to discussion was the Nokia, which once was number one everywhere in mobile phones. And then somebody came and said, Android, and they said, sorry, are you joking? Symbian is here, it will be here forever. So they decided to be the entire body and lost everything. Just a crazy part, just again, Nokia Bell Labs, it's the name. Again, the head talks about Industry 5.0 importance for Nokia, which makes me smile. But it was quite three interesting parts where the speaker take the business or the pictures or the people and take it in a position from the point of view of a body, how wrongly they work in this. So you cannot, you can manage your own body frequently, not all the time, but if your body should be bigger, then you will probably not be able to manage everything. You should be a part of it. Whether you will be the soul or the heart or the lever or whatever, it's another question. But I think it's quite interesting. You know, we spoke about the politics, about the right hand, left hand, as they try to cut each other, thinking they will be stronger. No, they will never be stronger because it will be only one hand at the end, not two. But still, it's done this way. So I think there is about the body is something much deeper in the language, especially in the English language. I just think about the German expression. They don't use it the same way as in English. I think the government does not have nein, das ist kein Körper. I don't think they use this in this relation. It's really English, and maybe some other languages, of course.
But I don't know. I think maybe we talked about this once before, but evolutionists are claiming that I think only 20 years ago we discovered that there was Devonian people. We've known about Neanderthals for quite a long time. So that's three different kinds of human species. And now they're saying that Homo sapien is splitting into two different distinct families. One will be quite tall, and the other is actually shrinking and becoming smaller, and the two are separating away, which is kind of interesting. I don't actually believe in it. I think that evolutionary changes are so small, it will never make a change as dramatic as that. And then there must be other effects rather than the evolution itself. But it's interesting that they can see a split in our bodies, our physical bodies.
There was an article on the radio recently about a similar split or evolution, and the tone of the article was that the evolution is happening very quickly. So, for example, the senses that we used to use so much more, for example, the sense of smell. We rarely depend on the sense of smell to escape danger, or and so our our nose and olfactory is not used as much, so it's shrinking. Same with the chin, because we no longer have to rip the meat off the, the bones of the deer that we just chased down or something. So what we don't use, we tend to use it tends to diminish over time, and it may be a short period of time. So that's going to be interesting if I can come back in 20 years, and everybody is getting their inputs like this. So what part of the body's change to enable this, rather than jumping on your bike and riding 10 miles before dinner and stuff like that. um, so evolution, now they're saying that people who go into outer space, their brain changes because of the outer space. I haven't read enough about that yet, but so we are changing because of what we are doing.
I think one of the changes which I read about in this article was that they do not recognize between us, we, and them, or something like that. So there was a quite strange explanation that they lost the ability to recognize us and them, or something like that is in the article. I cannot say it exactly, but it was quite interesting.
Actually, one physical change to the body, you would think, if we continue using vertical screens, then we should have one eye above the other. We don't need them to be side by side any longer.
And maybe we will not need glasses, because we can make the size on the screen bigger. Which for me is trouble to read newspapers or magazines, because I cannot make it bigger, simple. And even books, I have a trouble. But and I don't like to read books on a screen. I simply hate it. So I suffer. I should buy glasses, but I suffer at the moment by not being able to read as much as I can in a book. But it's quite interesting about these two eyes. Very interesting. Or the head will turn this way, so we will look all the time.
Oh boy.
If you look at your own body, and we know our bodies are changing, is there anything what you see as an advantage when the age is coming?
Good question. Good question. So maybe there's a companion question that says, do you fear death, or do you fear getting older? I think that there's lots of good things about the changes in the body with age. I mean, I'm sitting right now on a heating pad because I pulled my back out a couple of days ago. So that's not good. So we all have a list of things that are not good about getting older, but are there good things about getting older? I don't worry as much now, but that's a mental thing, not a body thing.
I can tell one from my own experience. It's connected with the
Please.
eyes. If I look in the mirror, I see myself as young as before, because the eyes are going weaker. I don't see the wrinkles and so on. Once I was in a hotel where was this magnifying mirror. which sadist invented this
Right.
stupid mirror?
Right.
So this is what I see as and I don't hear so good anymore on one ear, which is great because if there is a noise in the evening, I don't care because I don't hear it.
One thing is, I don't know, I mean, we all know how we look as we age, but when I think of myself, it's not as how I am now. I think of myself as younger, you know, and I'm sure that when we dream, those people who are having trouble walking because they need a hip replacement or whatever, I'm sure they don't dream that they need a hip replacement.
That's right. 3 minutes left, just for you to know. So
that's what we don't think of ourselves as being old.
No.
And for 60 seconds, I'm going to take up 60 seconds. When 20 years ago, when I was when I was out of the marriage and I started dating again, and I dated a girl and I got into the shower, came out of the shower before the date and looked, and there's a mirror directly across from me, and I looked at that and I could not believe what I was seeing. When did that tummy come? When did this start? What happened? Because I don't remember any of that happening. And the only way I was able to break myself away from that mirror was that the thought came to me, she's just getting out of the shower too. So, but we don't think of ourselves like, what am I going to look like in 10 years? I don't know. I don't know.
No. No, and I'm not tempted to interfere with faith, so I don't fancy having a facelift or whatever. I think it's more interesting to let nature take its course.
You know, we are the silver generation. So silver is nice. So everybody should enjoy. Maybe we should be the white gold generation after. So
White gold.
So it was a great discussion again. The 2 years we are meeting every week, understanding that the future is riding on the back of language and we are feeding the horse. And it's so fascinating every single time. And I would like to really thank you for these 2 years. I hope there will be many more. And I enjoy it. When I wrote the terms, it is really fascinating. At the beginning, we have, for example, 2 or 3 words, sentences. But then we came to one word, and it became more and more interesting because it gives us the opportunity to think different ways, and that was great. So thank you, Will. Thank you, Kevin, for this great time and great 2 years of speaking and helping the wasteless world to become reality. And have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, enjoy your body, and remain human as you are. Thanks a lot and see you next week with next term. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.